a lot of you, I have watched the Elijah McClain video and I have read the stories. And anybody who looks at my posts, my history here, I am a person who fundamentally fights back against the idea of systemic racism. I have a hard time believing that the entire system is inherently racist. So I go back and I watch the Elijah McClain video and I try and do it with an open mind, and I try and do it from a perspective of, is everybody in the situation doing the best they can? The first question that comes to my mind is, what in the world was he doing that warranted a 911 call? I want to know the motivation of the person who saw him walking down the street carrying a bag of groceries and thought, that looks suspicious to me, I'm going to call the police. That is one of the most problematic issues we have in our society today, is that we feel like we have to call the police for everything. Again, I'm going to say, whenever you see something happening and you think I should call the police, ask yourself if you think what you're seeing warrants an armed response from the government, because that's what the police are. They are armed agents of the government. So I want to know what he saw that he thought, you know what, I need to get the government involved in this situation. Second, when the officer actually rolled up on Elijah, he asked him to stop. Elijah says he has a right to go home, which is 100% accurate. And the police officer says, I have a right to stop you because you're being suspicious. I want that analyzed, because in both of these questions and both of these things, as a person who stands here and says, I don't believe the system is systemically racist, as a person who stands by that statement, this whole incident screams racism to me. This whole incident says, I see a black guy walking on the street late at night, I'm calling the cops, and I see a cop pulling up on a cool evening. This person was dressed in a ski mask, but he was wearing a ski mask in the store, which nobody would have known, but it's a cool evening, and he's bundled up, and I can't imagine that this happens to a white man walking on that street. And it pains me to say that. It pains me to say that. And when I say it, and that's why I stand against the idea of systemic racism, because you can look at every single thing I've ever posted and go, I'm not prone to overreact and say this is a race issue. That death is a race issue. I don't know that there's any way around it. And it also brings to attention the idea of what policing is in this country. This guy calls 911. The police show up. They see a young man carrying groceries down the street. There's nothing suspicious about that. If he was out looking to commit crime or to do something bad, first, he probably doesn't stop at the store and get a bag of groceries first. And second, he's probably not going to walk around in public in the middle of the sidewalk with his ski mask on if he's preparing to do something illegal or illicit. It doesn't make any sense that he's being suspicious. The officer pulls up and should have the intelligence to go, yeah, this is some idiot Chad who overreacted and called us for no reason. I'm going to tell this kid that, and I'm going to apologize for having to bother him. And I'm going to say, listen, some idiot called 911 and said there was a suspicious person. It looks like you're just on your way home with groceries. I'm going to come along with you just to make sure nobody else bothers you and get that kid home safe. That's protecting and serving. So the whole incident just, it makes the blood boil. And if somebody tries to defend the system, every single one of these incidents is like, see, that's an example of systemic racism. I point at it and I say, that's an example of racist attitudes. That's an example of prejudice. And that's an example of incredibly bad police work. I don't think you can take a solitary incident and then incriminate an entire system based on it. But yeah, I'm going to have a pretty hard time. And I'd love to see someone comment on here and explain to me how you feel that it wasn't, at least to some extent, prejudice or race motivated in any way. So I just wanted to chime in on it because this is the latest thing. And we have more protests. We have more violence, more police interactions. And again, when does it end? How do we solve this problem? It's got to start with us as a society to not pick up that phone every time something is going on and determine that we need the police to come. And the police need to redefine their mission as to serve and protect. And until we can get that figured out, we're going to continue to have these issues. So thanks for listening. I appreciate it. And God bless.